What is up YouTube, and welcome to this Lucifer Season 5 review and breakdown. The first half of the Season 5 has dropped on Netflix and it was surprisingly easy watching after heavy and convoluted shows like Umbrella Academy and Dark came out this year. Yes, I did love those shows, but it was just nice to experience something just a bit more simple. While this is only the first half, it did feel like it lacked an overall arc, but the show feels stuck in a limbo of CW Monster of the Week cookie cutter episodes and a Netflix hour-long episodes with season-long threading stories throughout the entirety of it. It picks up from last season with Lucifer being sent to hell to fulfill his sentence and hold dominion over it. It's been a short time for everyone on Earth, like the detective, but for Lucifer it's been a hell of a lot longer, no pun intended there. Life is going on back on Earth while Lucifer is torturing a man who died on a boat after being shot. Funnily enough, Lucifer takes a special interest in sorting this one out, as it turns out the marina the man was actually being shot at and, well, subsequently tortured in hell was in Los Angeles. Now, other plot threads at the start of the season include Linda's child with Amendiel. I'm sorry, I'm going to pronounce that name wrong before you get in the comments. I'm going to pronounce it wrong every time. I'm just going to tell you that right now. And she is actually trying, or at least Linda is trying to get someone to teach her child STEM science by Batista. One criticism of the episode is just how convenient this whole thing is. But then again, millions of people die a day, and Los Angeles is a big city, so they're bound to cross paths here in a homicide at some point. The episode did have a lot of highlights, with Lucifer being out of the picture. The supporting cast were given some time to shine, and personally, I would love a Blink-style episode where Lucifer is out of the picture and Maze, the detective, have a buddy cop story. Those two work in the case of the murdered yachtsman was fun and interesting, especially with Lucifer's brother taking over the bar. It's a dynamic which is shortly lived as the investigation is over and Lucifer returns to Earth, kind of. The problem with these Monster of the Week episodes is that for the Arrowverse shows running at 20 plus episodes, there's just so much filler. The best thing streaming has done is shortening the life of these shows to at least half of that. I mean, HBO did it in the late 90s, but it's taken so long for others to catch up. Having this season split into two, I would say works very well, as at least the crimes of the week are interesting and engaging, bar a few such as the DJ, in my opinion. Usually I want the overarching season thread to continue, but this season of Lucifer had me gripped, as in episode 2 we had a really creative crime with a woman murdered in a test simulation for Mars, with Morgan Grimes of Chuck returning as Neil Berger, our Elon Musk stand-in. We even have a Sharon Osbourne cameo. In the background of these crimes, it is revealed that Lucifer's older brother Michael, we should have guessed that because earlier in the episodes we found out that Lucifer was lying, but he can't lie, and Michael can. Michael actually defeated Lucifer Morningstar during the rebellion, and he used the Demiurgus, which is God's power, to destroy Lucifer's forces. Michael was captured by the Sandalphon and taken to a pocket reality in the comics. Michael is seen as patient and kind in the comics, but it is clear he is very much out for revenge this time. Maze knows all about this after being attacked by Michael. They get together, but the detective shoots him and realises that, well, he's not actually Lucifer. She knew this actually when they kissed. Lucifer's brother, Amendiel, I'm going to pronounce that again, I do apologise, knows that Lucifer is not who he is and is actually Michael. And he goes to hell to get Lucifer to return. I find it kind of weird that they kept this secret, but decided to blow their load on the reveal, and they just reverse everything from last season in just a few episodes. It is a real shame that that didn't carry on longer. The therapist is also at the end sent a picture of a baby, which is a setup for a few episodes' time, as her one fear is just being a bad mother. Obviously, when Mr. Morningstar returns, no one actually believes it is him. Just as we thought that Lucifer and the detective were just going to heal their rift, Michael actually told the detective, that she is a gift from God made just for Lucifer himself. He says that this is true, and he was worried that he would not trust his feelings for her. He was concerned the feelings of love were just because she was actually made for him. The rest of the episode is actually kind of top notch. Again, the premises for the episodes are so much fun, as it's set on a WB backlot and is about a TV writer who was murdered, but Lucifer actually knew him. The writer actually made a deal with Lucifer to become a big hit writer, but the show he wrote was actually all about Lucifer himself. Now, I adore these gimmicky episodes, especially when they are at least a TV show based on the TV show. How very meta they are. It reminds me of Stargate SG-1, which had a similar thing, and oh boy, do I miss Stargate. Now, Michael not only wanted to do a Freaky Friday, but he actually orchestrated Lucifer from being banished from above and Lucifer from being sent to Earth, and manipulated him non-stop as he hates Lucifer. He's been really pushing the pieces abound for quite a long time. Michael refers to him as Samael and unworthy, and they fight as Lucifer scars him. Samael is basically an archangel who's an accuser or destroyer. Michael, not having this, decides to confront Maze and offers a secret to her. Not content with just playing Lucifer, he wants to destroy everything around him, and that does actually come up in episode 4. And episode 3 and 4 for me were the highlights. The show kind of went a bit downhill from then, in my opinion, and episode 4, being a noir episode, just nudged episode 3 out of it for me. Now, Trixie arrives for game night, but she settles on a story about Lucifer's ring. We see him meet up with Maisie's mother, and Lucifer owed an actual favour. She wants to help find her missing ring. Now, her mother was actually married to Adam, and the ring has a stone stolen from the Garden of Eden, which presumably, or at least they thought, makes the bearer of it immortal. She wants Lucifer to have the ring, and Maze actually learns this. She actually sent Trixie there to sort this out, and she actually goes to see her mother, who was living a real normal life, and Lucifer knew this all along. And Lilith actually left Maze to make her stronger. In episode 5, Lucifer proves his love to the detective by bringing her to where he burned his wings, and the therapist reveals she abandoned a child 17 years ago and goes to meet her. This was a plot thread I expect to actually be picked up in the second half, and it's an interesting one at least. She, at the end, decides to try and put herself on the adoption registry so her daughter can at least try and find her if she wants. Now, Ad Azrael has an effect on religious people that has their love of God reflected back at them. This whole nun episode I felt really weak, and something Lucifer doesn't have is this. And it turns out that the detective actually really does feel this way for him, and he doesn't, or at least she doesn't have any effect of the powers that Lucifer has. He's kind of null and void with her, and it's why she's been so real with him throughout the whole time, and they kiss and happy ever after, kind of. So like I said, episode 6 was a bit of a low for the season for me, but at least Lucifer finally gets the coochie. But it doesn't last for long, as Michael comes to Dan and tells him that Lucifer is literally the devil, and Lucifer has lost his mojo, baby, as Maze also fights Ad Azrael, and the plot threads here just kind of really go nowhere. The whole Dan thing was ridiculous, especially with Lucifer wanting to get revenge on him. It just felt incredibly ridiculous. Maisie's story is also a bit of a mess. It's supposed to be a reflection of the therapist leaving her child almost 2 decades ago, but it feels rushed, and she just kicks off and gets angry or storms off. There's not much characterization for her. But Dan shoots Lucifer and, well, he survives, and all of a sudden he is invulnerable. The person killing women, which was a kind of procedural bit throughout the season, it turns out that, well, there was a copycat, and the real killer is still out there. And Maze decides she wants to get a soul, but she's a demon, and Lucifer kind of acts rude to her and infers that she's just lowly because she's a demon. But the big reveal is that Elle's new boyfriend is actually the killer. It's something I kind of expected a few episodes before, and he felt off throughout the entire season. He was just very weird. It turns out that Michael has actually taken the detective. He tells her what the changes Lucifer is going through means, and that Lucifer is actually yet to say he loves the detective. But it's important that he has actually chosen to be vulnerable around her, but we know that he is actually invulnerable, probably part of Michael's machinations. Lucifer then tells Dan that, well, Michael has been tricking him and playing this whole time. Lucifer asks Dan where he saw Michael last, which is important because they actually need to find the detective. But Michael flew Dan to a cave. Parts of it looked fake and was abandoned. Decker is saved, but she wasn't taken by the killer as we were led to believe. Michael goes to meet Ad Azrael as the child they have is actually sick. He wants to help despite them hating each other, and he goes to drop a bombshell, and Michael actually faces Maze as he returns to find the detective taken by Lucifer. Michael convinces her to back down, and well, he is going to help her out massively. Michael told him that the child just had a small cold, but that is actually a big deal. That needs to be put on pause a moment as the detective and Lucifer actually talk about everything, and she reveals that Michael has a larger plan. But thankfully, Lucifer's mojo is back, baby, and Decker seems off. So she actually thinks that he wants to push her away, and that, well, their twilight romance is not going to happen. Unless he says, "I love you." He's just about to, as everything gets paused. His sun is frozen, and this means that his son is not immortal or a celestial. He is just a plain mortal. His child will grow and die before him, which is absolutely awful. Michael appears here sounding like Doctor Strange once more, and Michael didn't make the mortality, he didn't cause this, but he did actually make his child ill. And they hover, Lucifer and Michael hover over his shoulder just as Michael gets punched. Maze is revealed to be on Michael's side as he is going to give her a soul because she's just a demon. This plays on the fact that Lucifer just mugged her off at the start. And Maze reveals that she knows he hid her mother as she feels worthless. They fight, and just as everyone who has wings at least bears their wings, God appears. God has taken 5 years to appear, so it is massive that he has actually returned. No doubt he is here to stop something that Michael has set up, as Michael's plans, his endgame, wasn't actually fully revealed, but it's a big deal that God has actually appeared. Considering that Lucifer is the twin of Michael and he hasn't been mentioned, part of me thinks that they have been swapped and Michael is actually the evil one in reality. That's just a kind of crazy theory there for you, but there is some scheming as well going on, and I don't think that maybe this is the end of it whatsoever. However, God will finally reveal what his plans are for his children as they just cannot behave. Overall, the series was fun and enjoyable, but parts of it felt a bit long in the tooth. The romance took far too much attention away from the side stories, with Maze's story being specifically very interesting, and so did Michael's. I do hope they abandon the crime of the week, but we know that God has returned now to sort his sons out for good and proper. So it'll be interesting to see where they actually go next with this, but I feel like there are going to be some big twists and turns coming as the rest of the series progresses. But that's it for the video. Please drop a like down below, please do subscribe with notifications on, and do check out our Discord down below, and I'll see you soon, and goodbye.